Oh, there it is. There it is. That's that sound. That's that sound. You're in the championship rounds with King Amin of Essex 1, moderated by Jay, where we talk about boxing news and everything in between. It's season 2, round 10. You know, how you feeling, bro?
I'm good, man. I can't complain, man. You know, it's the holiday seasons for those that are celebrating it. I know it's a little change of pace in everybody's schedule, so I can't complain. I'm waiting for a good little slowdown, so you know how it is, man. Let's get to it.
All right. Well, you know, before we get to it, you know, promote yourself, let people know where they can find you, and of course, their IG and all that.
King Amin of Essex 1 on Instagram for all your boxing news and notes, and also the Boxing Voice TBV podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to check me out on there. Flagship shows Thursdays and Sundays, Border Wars coverage, and everything else in between.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Make sure y'all check that out. Like I always say, get that free game while it's free. You know. All right, so you know we're gonna get into it. You know, the people want to know your opinion on what's going on in the world of boxing. So the first article, you know, topic is coming from boxinglefthook.com. Badlefthook.com. I'm sorry. Vasily Lomachenko defeats Richard Comey. So again, listen, there's a lot of, I don't want to say controversy, but I want to talk about certain aspects of this fight, right? That was interesting to me because, we need to know your expert opinion. But let's start out talking about what did you think of Lomachenko's, performance, and what do you think he did like that was most impressive? Is he back?
Yeah, he's definitely back. I mean, one thing about this particular fight that you have to acknowledge is that both of them lost to Tio, and Tio just lost.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the degrees of separation, I like to, do the whole common opponent thing. He looked good against Comey, you know what I'm saying? And he dominated him, and he punched him up, and he danced. And, if there was
he showed a strong chin too, you know?
Yeah, because Comey hit hard. Comey definitely got lights out kind of power coming in off knocking out his last opponent. So when you're able to pull that off, in that kind of fashion, he's definitely back. He's definitely back, This is one fight I can say it was a part of the top ranked diet in terms of creating in-house fights, and I guess they have the depth to do it at that division, but at the same time it was a worthy enough fight to kind of still sort the division out. So Loma looked good. I can't front on him. I can't say nothing bad about the man.
All right, so now let's get down to specifics. All right, so he dropped Comey in the 7th. Okay, so now this is where I want to say the controversy, not controversy, but I want to know your opinion. So, anybody who's watching the fight know, Lomachenko had him reeling, at certain times in the fight, and I mean, obviously the fight was on the verge of being stopped at certain times. So, do you think Lomachenko couldn't finish him, or was he showing him respect? What is in terms of the conversation with his corner? What is this? Because I don't know how to take it. Like Lomo said, I respect him. He's a good man, and that's why. I mean, is this common in terms of backing off to try to force the corner to throw in the towel? Is that respect, or what is it?
I mean, it was definitely different. Only in recent years. I mean, you see some fighters get hasty and they'll throw a punch while their opponent is on the ground and hit them. You see that in the Darren Williams, Frank Gore fight. We ain't gonna jump too far ahead, but you see all kinds of sloppy or intentional punching. You know what I'm saying? I guess when you have the skills like that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, y'all want me to keep just punching on this man? Like he can't. He was actually doing the referee's job and part of the corner's job in the sense that he's telling y'all this man can't stop these punches from coming. Right. I'm not gonna stop throwing him, and he can't stop him. Like, do y'all want to do him a favor and get this motherfucker out of here? So in that regard, I agree. Like, could they have stopped it just based on that? As a matter of fact, that's what happened to Nicholas Walter years ago when Lomo fought him, back when HBO was still in the boxing business. He quit on the stool because he said, I can't stop this motherfucker from hitting me, and I can't hit him. So what am I going to chase him?
So basically what you're telling me is if Loma had in his mind that he wanted to punish the man and stop him, he could. Okay.
Now, this is the part to where that becomes dangerous, because suppose he was like, all right, y'all don't want to, so I'm gonna hurt him. And then he just started really, teeing off on him.
Right.
Sometimes, you don't want to see that cumulative force build up on somebody. So, shit, I don't know. He might have his physician's assistant degree, because he was playing ring doctor, he was playing referee.
Yeah.
He was just he was like, yo, y'all want me to keep doing this? I mean, and again, it shows the kind of temperament you kind of need in boxing, to where you have to have a certain level of controlled aggression, because he's saying himself, like, I don't think it's fair for me to keep punching this guy like this. But if y'all
So,
gonna
all
let me
right.
do it, I'm still gonna do it, but I still can obviously hurt him, but I'm not gonna hurt him. And I don't know why y'all got me in here, keep punching him. He was points, he was so tentative, he would back off and just kind of let Comey regroup, and then throw like one or two shots and look over, say, yo, I don't see no towel coming. I don't see nobody coming in between us. Why the
Right.
fuck y'all ain't stopping this?
Right. So what I'm getting from you is you don't look at it as disrespect in any way.
No, not at all. That's honor. That's some Ned Stark
Okay.
shit. That's honor of the highest level. Now, notice I said it's Ned Stark shit. It might get you killed one day.
Right. Listen, man. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
So,
All right.
but
All
I
right.
think too. I think too. Just to before we wrap that one up, I think part of it too was in a way saying, you're not the business that I'm here for. I was here for a
Okay.
Teofimo fight, and they
But that
gave
was
me you.
now. See, this is that was going to be leading to my next question. So what's next for Loma?
It's up to him. He wants Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo crying about he can't make it to 135 no more. But I tell you what Loma don't want, and I don't care what nobody say. He don't want no parts of Shakur. Now, if you
Right.
let Bob Arum spin his little bullshit, that's the subterfuge. He's gonna say, remember, he ducking the Duck Taco boys. He got Navarrete and Valdez. He's gonna make them fight each other, and then give Shakur Loma, right? The fight maybe happens, maybe doesn't happen, but why would you cash out essentially your two highest valued prospects remaining? You just lost Terrence Crawford. Like, why would you, you know what I'm saying? That's just like,
Right. It don't even make sense.
you cheating, and you bring the cheating to your house, and you get caught cheating at home. You look fucking retarded. Like, you blowing your whole shit up. You're gonna blow up Loma and Shakur. You know what I'm saying? Like, neither one of them are gonna value that. Like, Loma's gonna value it because he like, yeah, I done already been cashed out for Tio. You see the hard
Right.
road back that I have. I didn't get a rematch calls. You see the hard road I have back. I gotta fight whatever to get back if that fight ever happens, or he gonna throw me in there with Shakur.
Right.
So really, Bob don't got no love for nobody. If you look at it, that's not really show no love to Loma, if you think about it, right?
Now you're right. You're right.
So what's next for him? Like, can you think about that? If he doesn't get Tio, Bob's gonna throw him in there with Shakur. That's not good, because he already sparred Shakur, number one. From all indications, that didn't go so well for him, for Loma, that is.
Okay.
And that was a young Shakur. You ain't talking about this Shakur, you know what I'm saying? So I don't see that one going the way that Loma would like it to go, nor the way that Bob would like it to go, because I see, and you see, look at what he did. He would put Loma in Madison Square Garden against Comey. He wouldn't put Shakur anywhere on the East Coast like we think he should. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. Right.
So it's Top Rank, man. It's really hard to project the best for a fighter when you know that what they do over there is so shrouded in such favoritism, bullshit, and bottom lining that really has no regard for the value of the fighters in the long run. So,
All right, well, we're going to have to keep an eye on that one. That's going to be an interesting story. You know what I mean? Keep following up on, how he plays that hand, All right, so listen, the next article comes from CBS Sports. This is what everybody been talking about at the water cooler, man, or in the metaverse or wherever y'all at. You know what I mean? Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2, the problem child, as they call him. 5-0, 4 KOs. So listen, this was a Showtime pay-per-view fight, Tampa, Florida, cruiserweight bout. We've all seen the footage by now. By kind of most people's evaluation, it wasn't really much to the fight until those last kind of moments. But we saw Woodley go down hard. So that's what everybody's talking about. So a knockout is a knockout in that moment. We know the first fight was a split decision, and there was a lot of, we had controversy about it. So I guess my first question for you is there any doubts about the legitimacy of the first fight? Now that we've seen this.
Nah, you can't doubt the first fight. And you can't doubt this one either, but you definitely can't doubt the first fight, because apparently what you saw in the first fight is, using that word tentative again, not knowing what to expect. So Jake Paul definitely like, yo, all right, this is a real, fighter, not boxer, keyword. This is a real fighter. He can punch. We know he done knock cats out, but listen, he's older, he's retired, I'm taller, I'm stronger, but I'm gonna be careful. So he fought very careful in this fight, the second fight. The first fight. He fought very careful and boxed. The second fight, Woodley was the one coming in thinking that, nah, I think I got it figured out. But he used such poor boxing technique and so much MMA technique in what he was doing. He reverted back to fighting against a guy that's been training and practicing boxing technique,
Okay. All right. So 4 pay-per-views in 12 months. Who knows what the totals are in terms of the money, but it's bringing in money. It's bringing views. Social media is just as important as, I don't want to say ticket sales, but right now, in terms of popularity and all that, your buzz out there, this was all over the place. So as was clips from some of the other fights. So what do you think this means, if it means anything? 4 in 12 months. And he's bringing money to legitimate boxers, right?
Yeah, man. And I can't, we made this point, with the whole ices ices for the crew. It's like, what can you do when there's so much more light and so much more opportunity being brought to the sport? Now, one thing I want to talk about, you said the money for Tyron Woodley, he made between 2 and 3 last fight. I got no doubt in my mind he made at least 5 this fight, because it was short notice, and because naturally on a rematch, you usually like to double up. You don't get less. You know what I'm saying? You might get the smaller percentage, but it's never usually less money, because they looked at the lucrative nature of the first fight, and then they said, well, when you get a second choice, there's no way I'm gonna do it for 2 to 3. So let's just say he made 5, right? Then Jake Paul gave him a rollie during the, the face off. So, it's so many perks to it, even moving forward after this fight. And the difference between him and Nate Robinson or anybody else that got slept is that he's a warrior, and he coming from MMA, like that's part of the game.
Oh yeah.
So he ain't got no shame to it. They're gonna say, yo, I got knocked out, but I competed, and dude, can punch and blah blah blah. So he's got a lot to gain. He may be a motherfucking Dancing with the Stars, you know what I'm saying? He may have a run at a couple of other things. He may turn it into a fucking, a side hustle somehow. But Woodley is good off of this now. Again, Jake Paul, man, this is just what I would like to see. Because he's going to be around for a while. But this is what I would like to see. He got to fight Chavez Jr. because he's still skirting the lines. Now, the good fight will be against Anderson Silva. But I think his people might keep him away from that one, because Silva is a legit enough boxer that, like, the boy might be out of his league. You know what I'm saying?
He could expose some things.
Definitely expose some things that they don't need the money train exposing. When I mean the money train is, so last, time we heard Steve Cunningham was in camp with Jean Pascal, out of Canada. You know what I'm saying? He was like, he be creating opportunities, even bringing in sparring partners. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Amanda Serrano again was on the undercard of this, showcasing women's boxing. Man, like he's doing justice for everybody down with him. Everybody, Jay Leon Love, right? And I brought this up when he was on the Boxing Voice. Jay Leon Love was down with Floyd Mayweather and the Money Team, right?
Mm-hmm.
He ain't never get no bread like that or shine with the Money Team. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not counting his pockets, but I'm saying the recognition isn't there. But, you know, with Jake Paul, he's out on the front line. You know what I'm saying? So it's I don't see this thing slowing down. Eventually, he's going to want the Canelo fight or the Conor McGregor fight. Those are two fights that are going to, you know, I guess be spoken about to continue the momentum of what he's doing, because otherwise,
what fight? Well, you said Conor McGregor and who?
Canelo, yeah, as crazy as it sounds, right?
Isn't it crazy? I had to ask you because that might be his last fight. I mean, you would think he has a chance in that?
No, but listen to what I'm saying, Jay. They done already did that before. His brother fought Floyd. You mean to tell me his brother fought Floyd? Canelo, he can't be too good to go and make 200 million.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, yo, that's how much they generated for that?
Listen, Floyd alone, I think he generated 80 million, you know,
What?
as a guaranteed purse, and then maybe, you know, another 20 or so. When Floyd was fighting professional boxing, he didn't come out the house. At the end of his career, it was 30 million guaranteed. But when he started doing the Pacquiaos and this and that, he wasn't coming out the house for 100 million or less a fight. 100 million. Jay.
So let me ask you this: do you think it would be something like, because with Floyd, wasn't it like not a real boxing match?
And so that's
like,
the key.
So if something bad happens, it's not a loss, right?
No. And so what would happen is Canelo at that point in his career where he would take such a lucrative fight, once they roll it out to him and say, yo, you got the loud, brash American versus the Mexican folk hero, put that fight in Texas. You know what I'm trying to say? It's an exhibition, right?
Right, exhibition.
Yeah, so there's no knockdowns, right? And so that's what they mean when they say there's a no knockdown clause. If they say it's an exhibition, then the intent is not, you can't hit a person to a certain degree or whatever. So you know, they'll probably line it up like that and just say this is an exhibition, and you know, it's at a catch weight, all the things that would disqualify it from ever, you know, measuring it on a pure boxing level, other than saying we got to see the two get in the ring, similar to Logan and Floyd. You know what I'm saying? Right, okay. It's just it's an optic illusion about it being a sporting event, a competitive one at that. Right. It's just to say he fought Canelo. So remember, you got this story, you know, the YouTuber, he was a jerk, he was a bully, and then he realized, you know, that bullying's wrong and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, he playing YMCA and during his fucking walkout because he's so inclusive. And then he turned around and, yeah, I just believe you can do anything. Like my brother, we win or lose, you got to believe you can do anything. He fought Floyd Mayweather, you know, I fought Canelo. It's just a fucking story, man. It's just a fucking story. Never mind the kid would get killed in the ring. Killed. Right. Killed. Right. Not even killed. Killed. Black shit. Killed. KILT. Nigga get killed in the ring. You know, but it's just the optic of illusion of having shared the ring with Canelo and the spectacle that would create.
All right. Listen, that's gonna be something we gotta keep our eye on, man. I think we don't went through that. Anything else you want to talk about before we move on from that fight?
Nah, man. I just think that again, it's good to see what happens on the undercards, and you hear about the fighters that are getting opportunities from working with these guys. You do got to acknowledge, you know, Jake Paul is increasing his skills. He's got all day to practice. You know, he's got all day to train. Moved out to Puerto Rico. You know, he's taking it seriously. Like how long? And I'll leave it as almost as a rhetorical question. But how long can you detract somebody from doing something or from them actually becoming good at it if they put in the time?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the idea of, you know, athletes becoming rappers and rappers becoming athletes. The transition is made if they're good at it. Like LL Cool J is LL Cool J. He's not an actor, and like you know what I'm saying? At this point, he does those things very well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're synonymous. He's capable of doing the two, and there's no bones about it. So you know, if the guy is boxing, you know, we got to stop calling him a YouTuber, man. You keep calling him a YouTuber, and that's what's going to make the motherfucker that get knocked out more embarrassed, because instead of taking him seriously and saying, yo, this dude is in there training with top class championship competition, you know what I'm saying? BJ Flores and them, you keep calling him a YouTuber, then when he knock you the fuck out, you got knocked out by the YouTuber. Better call him a boxer. At least you can motherfucking put some shine on your shiner.
All right. I mean, man, you're right, man. Because listen, one thing you said that's 100. In addition to other stuff, is like he ain't going away, bro.
No.
You know. So, you know, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. What they call him, the problem child.
And he currently is a problem for the mainstream of boxing.
Yeah, that's gonna be something interesting to watch. You know, I want to see how our conversation does or does not change around his name. You know, upcoming. All right, so the next article we got is from Boxing News 24/7, 24.com. Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas, right? WBA approved a unification fight between these two. Spence Jr., IBF, WBC welterweight champ. We know, Ugas is the WBA champ. So first, what do you think? Last time we saw Ugas in the ring was, when he retired Manny Pacquiao. We all know Errol Spence Jr., his name is his name. So we ain't got to speak on that, 21 KOs. First, I guess my first question is this the fight that the public really wanted?
Great question, and absolutely not. The fight that the public wanted was Bud Crawford and Errol Spence.
Right.
That's the fight everybody wanted. Now, and it's funny because Bud Crawford has taken on a new leaf. If you see him out socializing now, he's a lot more talkative. He's a lot more outgoing. He's a lot more open. He was telling a fighter, Regis Prograis, who fights at 140, he told Regis Prograis' wife in front of him. He said, yeah, I told him, he's a great fighter. I ain't taking nothing away from him, but why would I mention your name? If you came up to 140, I'd fuck him up. He's like, and I told him that. He telling the man wife that.
Yeah.
You know what the man did? And respect, Regis Prograis is a G, but he like, it's weight divisions. That's why there's weight divisions in boxing. But he's telling him, he said, brother, why would I bring your name up when if you came up to 147, I would fuck you up? He told Josh Taylor, undisputed at 140, similar to what he did. Yeah, if Josh Taylor move up to 147, I'm fucking him. He's telling this to people in their face, Jay. He's smiling and telling him, he said, yeah, you come up to 147, I'm going to fuck you up. And you know what Josh Taylor did? Yeah. It make a noise, nigga.
Yeah. Listen. Listen, I know what that is. You know what that is. I'm gonna leave that alone,
Yo, and that's the fight that people want to see. One of the best sound bites we have in boxing. Errol Spence goes, yeah, let's bet 100,000 I could beat you. Terrence Crawford said, let's make it $1 million. Terrence Crawford has been willing to bet $1 million to Errol Spence that says, guess what? I'm gonna fuck you up.
Right.
So, and I love Errol Spence. He's Jamaican, but I can't hide him. You get what I'm saying? That's some punk shit to me. You know what I'm saying? Now, you have to build your career and pick your fights, and I get all of that. But he wasn't trying to give Ugas no chance before. Nobody was trying to give Ugas a chance, by the way. Now, all of a sudden, he want to give Ugas an opportunity. Nah, man, that's little duck sauce to me. And again, I'm not saying he's afraid. I ain't basing it on fear, but it's just a convenient fucking avoidance.
Career move.
Yeah. So
So we ain't gotta ask. That's my next question out the way. But will Spence Crawford ever happen?
Yo, and here's my fear. My fear is that Spence will unify, get it in his last belt, right? And then he's gonna fucking run. He's gonna go up to 154. That's my fear. And he'll duck Crawford. That's my fear. I don't see him. I wish he would, but I don't. It's something about him, the way he moving, seem like he'll conveniently avoid this fight. And that's punk shit. You know what I'm saying? As in, Bud Crawford held up his end as far as all the deficits as to why we didn't get some of the best fights out of him because he was on the other side of the street dealing with Bob Arum. And Errol Spence made light of that. Like, yeah, well, when you get free from over there, when you beat somebody, when you do these things, I'll be waiting over here. Well, now Bud is on his doorstep and the nigga sending his kids to the door. Tell him I ain't home. Like, nah, man, answer that fucking doorbell. Stop doing that bullshit, champ. You ain't never want to give Ugas no fucking opportunity. Now all of a sudden Ugas deserves. Yo, just how bad it is. Ugas, nobody wanted to give him a shot at the title. Ugas went to Columbia. I don't mean motherfucking Columbia University or Columbia High School. He went to Columbia, the country, to have a meeting with the commissioner for the sanctioning body that he hold, and the motherfucker wouldn't give him a meeting. The commissioner of the W would not give him a meeting. He said, but you think you can find some time, seeing as how I traveled from fucking Las Vegas to Columbia? Right. You can't find an hour to squeeze me in? No, I'm sorry, Mr. Ugas. We don't have any time for you. Now, all of a sudden, Terrence Crawford's free, right? Terrence Crawford's free as a bird. Now all of a sudden, yeah, Ugas is good, man. Ugas is good, man. Like, nah, man. And listen, you know, Ugas has to play the game because he's got to take his opportunity when motherfuckers won't give it to him. So he's the man in the middle, you know. But yeah, I hope that fight happens, man. But I hate to be pessimistic, and I'm not pessimistic about many things, but that could be a fight that does not happen. And I would blame Errol Spence at this point. The ball is in his court for sure.
All right. Well, we gotta keep our eye on that one too, man. It's gonna be a good one. All right, so the last article is from Boxing Scene. This is Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios. So listen, you know, Keith Thurman been off for a long time, 2.5 years. So I guess before we kind of get into that fight, what's the effect? We all know, obviously, that's way more than like ring rust, right? That's somebody who's been away from the game 2.5 years, but he is a veteran, so it's fair to say he probably knows what it takes to be prepared. So what do you think that balance is? How do you think that's going to impact you?
Let me be real with you. I love Keith Thurman. I love his character. I love his, you know, determination, things like that. But as a fighter, I always questioned his intentions, if you will. Like he's an artsy guy, you know what I'm saying? Like he likes poetry and Japanese samurai culture and eating sushi and shit. And I'm not saying that to be funny, but like you can have balance as a fighter, but he'd rather spend his time doing the shit that is of his interest. You know what I'm saying? Like, so,
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he got this point, you know, he got to this point in his career, but he also got to this point where he was sleeping on silk sheets. And when you got enough money to wake up and eat sushi and paint and, you know what I'm saying? You're doing these kind of artistic things. And at that point, you're training to stay in shape, but you ain't training because you're trying to prove to the world or you actually want or need another fight. You just know that boxing is your trade and you may or may not be secure enough to stop right now, or your ego may not allow you to stop right now. But things in your career, things in your you know, the last few fights we've seen in Keith Thurman, I'm like, you know, like why keep fighting if you don't seem like you want to fight? And another, because to talk. One thing Keith Thurman always did was talk. But when he was talking, he was also in the ring. Right. So you talk about the duration of the layoff, and he's still talking. He was on Fight Hype, you know, with Dexter Gibbs or the Boxing Voice a couple months ago. I'm coming back to 154 and da, 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 da. But here's the interesting thing. And I hope I'm not going too far away from your question. Tank Davis, you know, Gervonta Davis and Leonard Ellerbe brought up Keith Thurman as a potential opponent, right? Now, Gervonta Davis is fighting at 135 pounds. He only, but what, 5'4", 5'5", 5'6" is generous. All right. Yeah. 135 pounds. He just fought Mario Barrios before he fought Isaac Cruz. Keith Thurman is coming back off a 30-something month layoff, right? And he's going to fight a 140 pounder that's moving up to 147. that just fought a 135-pounder. Yeah, you need certain fights to come back and build your confidence. But Keith Thurman is to the level of, and you got Mario Barrios is a game opponent, but that's too much of a confidence builder. Like, how do you get your confidence off of beating a guy who you're moving up to 147 and he lost to a guy that moved up from 130 to 135 to 140 and knocked him out in the 11th round?
Right, I get what you're saying.
To me, that says you afraid of what Gervonta would do to you.
Okay.
Like, and if you have that kind of fear or trepidation about a 135-pounder, I'm sure you don't want to see Errol Spence. I'm sure you don't want to see Bud Crawford. Maybe you don't even want to see the young boys. Maybe you don't want to even see Conor Benn. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to see Virgil Ortiz. You definitely don't want to see Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis been calling him out for 2 years, and there have been people that have been helping him to do. Boots Ennis is in Philly. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, nah, nobody don't want no smoke with Boots Ennis, quite frankly. And another thing to go back, but keep it forward, the only person that's been calling out Bud Crawford has been Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis is the only one that opened up his mouth the same way Bud telling everybody that he gonna fuck them up. But Boots Ennis is the only one that's telling everybody anything Bud Crawford can do, I can do better. And I would like to show him that's the fight I want. I think I could show you how good I could do against a Bud Crawford. That ain't no bullshit if the man say that. Meanwhile, again, you got a guy like Keith Thurman that was called out by a 135-pounder, and he choose to fight the guy that this 135-pounder beat.
Right. I get it, man. All right. So what does Barrios have to do for a good showing?
You know something? I'm gonna say this. I feel like he can beat. Let me not sound crazy. I don't know if he can beat Thurman by virtue of power, but he can beat Thurman the same way Josecito Lopez, and Luis Collazo gave him a very tough time. They went to his body.
Okay.
They went to his body because, number one, Keith Thurman, I don't think he possesses the power that he used to have. Like, one time ain't knocked nobody out in a long time. So get that up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Ain't knocking nobody out. That shit ain't happening. His movement is what he got to rely on. Again, his confidence might be a little different after coming in off that loss to Pacquiao and the sushi and the silk sheets and the fucking painting. Yo, all Mario Barrios got to do is be mad as hell that he lost to Tank and feel like, motherfucker, you should have fought Tank. You gonna fucking want to fight me? And had that dog get him. And
fuck your ass up.
And that's it. And he was rough in there with Tank. I think if he was in there as rough as he was with Tank, he rough up Thurman like that, Thurman is gonna have it tough, man. Thurman is not in for an easy fight. Thurman is not in for an easy fight. And that's kind of like what you get for picking on Barrios. Now, here's the other part, right? If he washes Barrios or it's really, really fucked up. Say he get a knockout on Barrios and Thurman ain't had a knockout in like 2 years. That shit don't mean nothing to me because you knocked out a 140-pounder and that got knocked out by the 135-pounder that called you out. I just got to follow that logic because, like I said, it just says something about this fight, about where Thurman is at in his career, and what I think he may or may not do, for the rest of his career if he continues. Like, this may be the feel out. This may be say, yo, if I can't hang with Mario Barrios, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and ride off into the sunset. Maybe that's it, because I don't like Barrios as an opponent. He could have picked one of them. He could have put we call him his name is Aegis Kavalauskas. We call him Crab and Lobsters. He could have picked any 147-pounder, like a legit 147-pounder. You don't pick a 140-pounder and blow them up to get your confidence back. I just don't get it. I don't like that move.
I get it. All right. What do you think that the interest is going to be in this fight?
Yo, it shouldn't be no fucking interest, because then he got the nerve to put it pay-per-view.
Oh, shit.
This shit is disgusting to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not trying to sound like, Stephen A-esque, on a fake rant, but I'm just trying to tell you, like, There is no logical way. This should have been a fight. If he was going to come back, do it on Fox 5, Channel 5. People can say, oh, that's Keith Thurman. Okay, you know what? He's loquacious, he's eloquent. He's philosophical. Plus, he's a fight. Get people to buy into your character a little bit more. Remember who you are, right? And then turn around and perhaps put his next fight against a higher level of competition on pay-per-view, right? But maybe they want to hinge it on the fact that his last fight was against Manny Pacquiao. And look at the stardust. They rubbing off stardust on the motherfucking stripper with glitter, right? You want the stardust from Gervonta Davis. So you're going to say, oh, yeah. No. He's a good opponent. He's the guy Gervonta just fought.
Right.
Stardust, nigga.
Nah, it don't work like that.
That shit, this fight, now here's the one time I'm gonna quote punk ass Bob Arum. This fight stinks because he got the nerve to sell his shit for pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, we got to revisit those numbers. I'll be interested to see what they do.
Yo, if this shit is like $30, cool. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do pay-per-view $30 and say both of these guys last fought on pay-per-view against pay-per-view stars, you know what I'm saying? Cool. Yeah. Manny Pacquiao and Gervonta Davis, right? Cool. They fought against pay-per-view stars, right? But yeah, you can't charge motherfuckers $60, $70, $80 for fucking Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios. Like, nah, buddy. That's why I'm so offended.
I wouldn't even go in on with somebody to watch their fight. I'm not paying for it.
Absolutely not.
All right. So, as we always do, we take people to school, try to, do a little historical perspective. We've been doing fighters this season. So you picked the Magic Man today, Antonio Tarver, So, as we always do, just for a little bit of background, just some of the demographic info, maybe where he's from, who he used to train with, boxing style, that type of thing.
Antonio Magic Man Tarver out of Tampa, Florida. Yo, the reason why I picked Tarver, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what he's doing now, but he was slept on. Tarver was slept on. I think he was like an Olympic alternate, or he might have won like a national championship, or he might have even been a silver medalist, but he had an Olympic accolade to him. Southpaw, very slick fighter. And I think he kind of went under the radar because he was a skill fighter at a time where people was looking for exciting prize fighting. So he kind of fought, if you will, in the shadows of the Bernard Hopkins and the Roy Joneses and, the Oscar De La Hoya. So, he was coming on in that era, but then you had guys that were stars of the time but they didn't quite, I guess, outlast what Tarver had done. So you're thinking even my guys like the Chad Dawsons and the Glenn Johnsons, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The Jermaine Taylors, you know what I'm saying? Tarver was in the mix with these guys that might be considered Hall of Fame careers. And obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but people only remember him from the Roy Jones trilogy, you know what I mean? For the Roy Jones series. It's just like, any excuses now, Roy. And the build up to that fight, again, fighting in the shadows, not bad management, but just the way fights are made. Like nobody wants to say, hey, you know what, Roy, you on a hot streak. Won't you fight that tricky ass southpaw from Tampa that's been outboxing motherfuckers? You know what I'm saying? No, we don't know if we can sell tickets with him because it's too difficult of a high risk, low reward. Right, and that was kind of the mark of his career. Now, when he went in and he beat Roy, that, and he had done things after that, but kind of beating Roy Jones, what more do you need to do? Right. So, but again, still going on to accomplish more. He did that as well. Because I think he ended up losing, and he came back and beat Glenn Johnson. So he, wherever he lost the belt, he managed to jump back in it. So I think he was 2 or 3-time world champion. Okay. So the reason why I'm bringing him up now is because he does a lot by way of they used to have him as an analyst, which was great because his boxing IQ was phenomenal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, man. I think right now, and there was talk and then it just went away right away. At 50-something years old, Antonio Tarver would school either one of those Paul boys easily at 50 something years old. And and this is different from me saying like a Mike Tyson would do. I mean, he would be able to show them a certain level of skills where it's like, like this my power, this is something my power can't get me, over this opponent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tarver's chin has proved very, very straight. Now, again, at 54, we're talking about a different thing, but I just think he has the skills at 54 to do it because his IQ. He was such a smart fighter. And his insight, like I said, his insight on the game. I love to see him back, on ringside. I mean, they giving shots to fucking Sergio Mora and some of these guys. Man, Tarver need to be ringside, giving us that information, man. So, and more importantly too, he talked about this fight with Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, and he had to make something clear. So if he says it, the caliber of fighter he is, and so it is. Because he'll tell you the truth, too. He know how dirty the boxing game is. He said, if you really know boxing, if you understand feints and just how to set up punches, you got to be fucking retarded to think that Woodley's going to take a dive, especially in the way that he did, just to give yourself up, to be slept like that, to be to fall with no way of catching it. Like, come on, like don't be that fucking ignorant. Like, you gotta believe in boxing, you gotta believe in skill, you gotta have some understanding of that shit and just not be so naive and so young to this world and think that, oh, he had to fake it. Like, don't you know that's what you train for? You train to be able to set a motherfucker up and hit him and they don't see the punch coming because you feinted him and they either didn't think a punch was coming or you made him react to something that wasn't coming so you could hit him. Right. That's boxing. That's what happened. That's what this fucking millionaire has been practicing, to hit somebody like that, and he keeps hitting people like that. He ain't hitting no boxers. And this is again why Antonio Tarver would see something like that, and he probably popped the boy 2 or 3 times, allow Jake Paul to throw a strong punch so he can roll it, so he can feel the young boy's power, and then just dance with him the whole time. And I'm not too far off, because a 48-year-old Anderson Silva, who does not have the boxing background or technique that Tarver has, he took care of Chavez Jr. Chavez Jr. is a legitimate boxer. Say what you want about him. He's been in there with Sergio Martinez, Hall of Fame middleweight. He's been in there with Daniel Jacobs. Chavez Jr. would give Jake Paul a very difficult time if Chavez Jr. could keep the fucking booger sugar out his nose. But Antonio Tarver is a wealth of information. If y'all get the chance, go check him out on Instagram. He does his Tarver's Take. Definitely, man. Definitely a bastion of knowledge. And I would like to see him more active in terms of his commentary and announcing capabilities. But certainly a Hall of Famer. And definitely go back and watch some of his skills, especially if you guys are training and you happen to be a southpaw. It's a lot of shit he can show you. Footwork and feints, that head movement, man. You can learn a thing or two for sure.
All right. And last thing, like we always do, if you're building your ultimate video game fighter, what part of Tarver's game would you take?
Maybe his footwork, because, like I said, Tarver, and the way he's teaching his son too, I can't wait to see how that development continues. Maybe his footwork, because he had a way of, and Tarver was ill with the parry. He was a fighter that really used the parry in his jab. So the parry is when you kind of turn an incoming punch down. You know what I'm saying? You don't swat it out of control, because in a parry, you're still in your fight. It says you just kind of give it a parry, right? Mm-hmm. And he was very good at the long guard. So punches will be coming in and he'd be able to get out with a long guard right here and just kind of parry it. Just bam, bam, and then move. So for a southpaw and you fight a conventional fighter, the easiest thing to do is just meet your jab with their jab.
Right.
but he's meeting the jab and then parried it so he can come over the top. That's why his left hook became one of his signature punches, because he could parry, his opponent's jab down, and then they think he might be coming with a straight left, but he might move on him, and it'll be a left hook or a left uppercut. That's what he caught Roy with. You know what I'm saying? The right was mean as well, because too, he'd come and parry and then come over the top with the hook. You know what I'm saying? He was just quick enough to do it. So yeah, maybe we take that parry from Mr. Tarver. I like that parry.
All right. I mean, listen, man, we're gonna have to expand on that a little bit in another, episode, maybe when we go back to kind of a little bit more exploring different parts, so we gotta keep note of that. All right, bro. But before we get out of there, make sure you promote yourself, let everybody know where they can find you, and if there's anything coming up that's notable this week.
This is the end of the year, so we do have a slight Christmas gift, y'all. If you're in the Newark, New Jersey area, Vito Malanicki out of North Bergen, he will be fighting at the Prudential Center. That's downtown Newark. Tickets should be cheap. Get your ass in the building if you can. Might even see me there. Okay. This is the end of the year too. You get all the action from Japan. There's a heavyweight card too coming up. But listen, top of the year. We should expect to hear what's happening with Fury and Dillian White and a whole bunch of stuff going on. So stay tuned. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram, because I'm gonna keep y'all posted with all the news and notes. King Amin of Essex 1. Also on the Boxing Voice TBB podcast on YouTube, and obviously here on these championship rounds, where we take definitely an in-depth dive at some of the things that's going on. And you definitely, I want to see, a lot of the new fighters, Jay. This is gonna be the new fighters, man. I don't. We gotta do this in a couple more episodes, man. But there's talk of Adrian Broner. If he can get his head right, Adrian Broner versus Conor Benn could be, not at the top of the year, but maybe early February, March, even. A lot of good stuff coming up, man. A lot of good stuff.
All right. All right.
Yeah, we got the rematch between Usyk and Joshua coming up top of the year. No later than March, man. A lot of good stuff coming. A lot of good stuff.
All right, well, we're gonna check it back in on that in around 11. So listen, my brother, of course, we always, before we get out of here, we want to thank everybody who takes the time to listen, to watch. Make sure you follow my boy on IG. Check him out on TPV. And with that, man, you're gonna take us out, right?
For sure.
All right, bro.